Okay, so this is the screencast for my website about Romeo and his relation with rebellion. So my 3 plot points are when Romeo sees Juliet for the first time at the party. I think this represents rebellion, as this is like what sparks their rebellion. This is what sparks the whole story and what's going to happen to them. And after the party, he goes to her house, even though he knows she is a Capulet, and that is against what his family or her family wants. And I think that's a very rebellious thing to do. Second plot point is when he and Juliet plan to marry each other in secret. At this point, they know that they're in love with each other. They know they want to get married, but they know it's against what their parents want. So having the wedding in secret is a very rebellious thing to do. Plot point 3. I think that when Juliet drinks the poison is also another very good example of rebellion, because she's going against what her father wants for her. Her father wants her to marry Paris, but she doesn't want that. So in order to stop that, she drinks a poison that makes her seem almost dead. And yeah, I think that's a very rebellious thing to do, to go against what your father wants you to do. So on the next page, I have the play, and on this page I'm going to talk about my 3 paraphrase quotations. So the first one is, "It was the lark, the herald of the morn, no nightingale. Look, love, what envious streaks do lace the severing clouds in yonder east. Night's candles are burnt out, and jocund day stands tiptoe on the misty mountain tops. I must be gone and live, or stay and die." And as you can see on the left, there's my more modernized version of that. So I think that this represents rebellion, as especially when he says, "I must be gone and live, or stay and die," because at this point he is supposed to be out of Verona, Italy, but he is going against what the prince has told him, and he has stayed. So if he gets caught, he will die. The second one I have is, "With love's light wings did I overperch these walls, for stony limits cannot hold out love, and what love can do that dares love attempt, therefore thy kinsmen are no stop to me." So I think this is also showing his rebellion, especially when he says, "Therefore thy kinsmen are no stop to me." So there are people trying to stop him and Juliet and their love. And he is ignoring that. They're both ignoring that, and he thinks that they are no stop to him. My final quotation is Tybalt. "The reason I have to love thee doth much excuse the appertaining rage to such a greeting. Villain am I none, therefore farewell. I see thou knowest me not." So I think that this shows Romeo's rebellious nature, as when he says, "Villain am I none, therefore farewell, I see thou knowest me not." It sounds it's like a clap back, it's sassy, and he's talking to someone that is older than him and is technically a part of his family now that he has married Juliet, and he's being rude to him, and I think that that is a very rebellious teenager kind of thing to do. So the next thing I would like to talk about are my 5 research articles. So my topic being rebellion, I found a bunch of articles on teenage rebellion. So first article, it's talking about how teenagers and their rebellions will change over time depending on what other teens are doing and what is seen as cool. In the second article, I have things that are just talking about how, yes, it is a society thing. It is something that you do in your teens because other people are doing it. But this person did a study. There was a study done, and it said that there actually could be genes that are linked to your teenage rebellion and that influence you to do things that are rebellious in nature. Third article is saying that it's actually breaking stereotypes. There's a study done with adults versus teens and who took a longer time to make a decision, who could make a more like reflect on their decision before they make it. And it actually turned out that the teenagers were able to make a more educated decision, and they waited longer to make that decision. So that one's kind of breaking the stereotypes of teenage rebellion. The fourth article, not final article. I thought this article was interesting, but I really only want to focus on the one highlighted sentence I have there, and it says, "I thought I didn't need school, then I went to college." And like a lot of success stories, Elle Cox's didn't always play out as she planned. So when she says, "I thought I didn't need school, and then I went to college," I just thought that was very teenage rebellion, like, oh, I'm not gonna go to college, I'm not gonna carry out my school, I can make it on my own kind of thing, and I don't want to go to school anymore, I don't like school. And then she went to college, and as she grew up, she grew out of that kind of phase of not liking school. And then finally, I think this is a very good article because the woman is saying that when she moved out and when she lived on her own, it helped her become the woman she needed to be. But when she was a teenager, she had done many things like running away from home and other things along those lines. And I think that this article specifically really helps me in answering my thesis question, because I had asked, how does your teenage rebellion affect who you are, how you change, who you become? And she said that those things that she did when she was 14, like running away, and the things that she did then in her adulthood, although they are different, they are similar in a way, as she is going off on her own and she's becoming who she needs to be. So finally, I just want to end with my thesis, the answer that I have to that. So my question is, how does rebellion affect how you change and who you become? So I said, as a teenager, there's so much pressure to know who one is and who one will become for the rest of one's life. This causes stress to figure this out early, and one can end up doing outrageous things in order to understand oneself better. This is an important stage in life, as one can begin to comprehend who one is and one's own individuality. However, I do not think the things one does in one's adolescence is the same person one will be in the future. Thank you for listening to this screencast, and I hope you were able to see the highlights of my website.